Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
All out of bubble.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
And we are live. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Well, it has been... Hey, Johnny Million. How are you?
Hey. Good.
Besides
Good
spectacular. It's good to see you as well. I don't know, have you had a chance to watch my performance of We Are the Champions from Tuesday's Pride show that we did at the Ultimate Jam Night? Yeah. Ginger has it on her site if you want to look it up. I think I posted a clip of it on my X feed, my Twitter feed. So, Johnny, for those that don't know, Johnny and I share a genuine love as Kiss fans, but we also, like, I learned to like Queen because of Johnny's total affinity for Brian May, and he's the guy who introduced me to the music of Queen, right?
Oh,
literally
cool.
was
I
like...
didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you were like, you know, I knew of them like everybody did, of course, but I knew, you know, a few songs that I really liked, and I think I was more attached to the Metallica cover of
Stone Cold Crazy.
Stone Cold Crazy, yes.
Yeah,
and that was kind of my, you know, like, oh, okay, they must be okay if Metallica's covering them. Again, it's an age thing, and whatever. Some people get in early. Anyways, Johnny was, as a huge Queen fan, was a lot of like, you got to check this out, you got to check this out, you got to check this out, and he was right. And so we ended the Pride celebration, Ultimate Jam Night the other night on Tuesday with We Are the Champions, and I think I did all right. I think I did all right.
Hard one.
It's not just hard. It's nerve-wracking because it's Freddie, so there's pressure. Yeah, I don't know why your camera froze, but it's a good freeze. It's a good kind of freeze.
Sorry, I was just opening up the YouTube chat.
Oh, I see. So it stopped it coming my way? Okay, that makes total sense. You over bandwidthed yourself. It's totally fine. And by the way, hi, everybody out there in Radio Land, and hello, everybody who's watching the live stream and is with us on the regular. Hi, Sparklers. Hi, everybody. Don't forget to share the show out right now because we're just getting started, and hit that like, because I single-handedly felt like I was holding the boat together after the debate. And no hard feelings,
You must
Joe,
have been, because I had already found a way to drown.
Yes.
I didn't know there was a boat. I was oh God, we're doomed.
Yeah, everybody was doing it's at the end. It's never going to blah. Okay. And I gotta tell you, it was probably, you know, I had made a commitment earlier in the week that, you know, and it was interesting because it kind of was the fates working their way out. You know, or guiding us all through this, I suppose, was that I was like, there was all this word that if you tried to use to stream CNN's feed, they'd shut you down. They hit you with a copyright strike if you're live streaming. So I had decided then that I would basically live tweet it, and then I would re-air it afterwards. You know, and we would go through it piece by piece. Okay, and at that point, I genuinely expected Biden to do a lot better. I really did. No. And I was like, I think we were all shocked by the sound of his voice. And I said right away in this that, and when people were panicking,
he didn't do enough drugs.
Right. That's exactly what I figured you would say. But I literally was like, a lozenge would save him right now. And I still stick to the fact that if he had simply said, and pardon my voice tonight, I have a bit of a laryngitis or something. I have a bit of a sore throat. Now, there's pressure on the president, never say you're sick, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's what was going on. But he could have solved most of his issues by going, I have a throat issue tonight, beg your pardon. You know, I'm a little hoarse tonight. And then have a Shetland pony. Not you. But if he'd have just simply said that, it would have set everyone at ease. But he sounded older because his voice sounded raspier. That made everybody nervous. And then there were so many lies right out of the gate, and you could tell he was over-prepped, that he just, you know, he was following, maybe it was Ron Klain's advice, somebody else, and they had already strategized, okay, you'll say this, you know, just, you know, we'll go through this. It's 90 minutes. You'll go through the beats, and whichever chunk of this of the questions. We don't know what the questions are, but we basically know what the order is going to be. It's going to be the economy, then it'll be abortion, then it'll be immigration. When those things come up, know that we've got these tweets ready to go of what you're going to say because we've already agreed what you want to say. You know, you've worked out that stuff, right? And we'll post those, and it'll be a great thing. And then the following day, we'll go on this kind of crush it tour because it went so well. Well, Biden was clearly over-prepped, over-prepared. That's what it would seem like to me. But I watched it, and I was as flop sweaty the first time I watched it as I think anybody was. And I was even sitting there with, my mom and my kid and my girlfriend, and we're all watching it together. And I was like, oh dear. When he had his clear brain fart at one point, the rest of them were him trying to get, like, which talking point do I go to before I run out of time? That became clear as it went on. But that was the big one, I think, like the third question or something, is when everybody panicked and stopped watching, right?
Yeah.
But I had already committed, after that happens, I'm going to re-air the whole thing. Let's go through it, warts and all. And because I'd already made that commitment, I had fully felt like, okay, this is going to be rough. And I'm not going to spin it. I'm just going to, give my advice, give my commentary, see what was good or bad about it, right? And I have to tell you, on the second watch, and this is genuine, I felt way better about it. I felt because it was clear that most of it was a vocal thing and people reacting to it. And so everybody who was watching it the first time through, there was one moment in particular that I think summed it all up, was when he said the Russians are losing thousands in Ukraine. And then he said 500,000. In my mind, when I watched it the first time, the distance between him saying thousands and 500,000, it felt like there was a gap that lasted forever between those two phrases. It really did. He's like, It felt like, the first time I watched it, was like, he's losing thousands and thousands and thousands. And then right as they're about to cut to Trump, he goes, 500,000. Like, that's what it felt like. It felt like a withering addendum after it was too late. But in reality, when I watched it again, he said thousands and thousands and thousands, 500,000. Like, he said it that fast. And I was like, that's not how I remember it at all. And it was just a few minutes ago. So as I watched it, there was I felt continually better about his honesty and his, it was clear that he was like, this guy's lying his butt off. That was all lies. And here's three of them. Here's the top three. I think that was a strategy agreed to before. And I think it was a mistake. I think your debate prep was all wrong. And what you should have focused on one primary idea each chunk. And if of filling it up, but instead of hitting him with facts because they know he's going to lie, a mix of emotional, anecdotal stuff, which is something that Biden is much better at. Have them cut you off when you're telling a story about somebody's life who is affected. That's what I would say. If you got a time limit, that's what I would do. I would do the facts in the beginning, one big one. We passed this bill, or he stopped us from passing this bill. Focus on that. And then the rest of it there are people, like I was in Ohio, and he's got stories for days about that stuff. Let them cut him off as he's trying to talk about average Americans. That would have been my entire prep for him. But that's
really not to totally change the subject, but when Trump and Clinton were debating, it was obvious to me that Hillary was like, here are the facts and here are his lies, and she was pretty together and said, was forceful and understandable, and it didn't make a bean's bit of difference. People who wanted to believe what Trump had to say were going to believe what Trump had to say.
Well, Hillary was up against something different, and so was Biden, because this whole Jacked Up Joe storyline, they were trying to push back on that by him being calm, and Trump's going to be a wild man. Again, that goes to the over-prepped idea. In the case of Hillary Clinton, this goes to the generalized misogyny and sexism of the overall public and the readiness to have a female president. Now, the reality is the American people are ready to have a female president. That's why she won the popular vote. Apparently, there are a bunch of progressives, alleged progressives, I call them faux-gressives, that are not, because they did not vote for her because they'll say it was because she's a murderous, warmonger or something like that. And Trump got in immediately, and we had as many civilian deaths from drone strikes from American troops in Iraq and other places in the first year of Trump's presidency than we had in the entirety of the Obama years. And she would have continued the Obama rules of engagement. Yeah, but her emails. Anyways, so that's on us. Again, that's us not showing up. And this time, by the way, it will be on us if women's rights are gone, because Alito is going to get replaced in the next term. Let's just understand that. He's been missing for a few days. He's more than likely, his age is becoming an issue himself. He's probably going to get swapped out. If Trump gets in, he will replace Clarence Thomas and Alito, and we will have the most, it will be Scalia, 10x in that regard. So and we got to take a break. But when we come back, I want to show the sort of compare and contrast the day after, because this was the lowest rated debate in American history, since they ran. I think Lawrence said 80 million people watched the Jimmy Carter-Reagan debate, and 85 million people voted in that whole election.
Wow.
Last night, it was less than 50. That means the only people watching were people like us who drink from the fire hose of the news on our side of the aisle, and the same equivalent on the other side. And the most fascinating part, where I'll tell you after the break, because this was the part that I was a little bit shocked myself. But Chris Hayes, even his tweet, I think, about it was, "No one knows anything." We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, with 100% more.
No one knows
Johnny
nothing.
Million. What'd you say? What'd you say?
No one knows nothing.
Nobody knows nothing.
Nobody knows nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Did you see Biden's speech the next day? The North
He
Carolina.
was pretty fired up.
Yeah. Did you see any of Trump's?
No, I didn't see any of Trump the next day. I go so far out of my way to avoid Trump unless you are unless there's a 4-minute clip of you lampooning a really good gaffe. I can't digest it.
Yeah. It's pretty hilarious.
I'm really starting to not like Donald Trump in general. I get it.
I understand. Yeah.
I don't think that he should be.
I understand you were on the fence, and
I was leaning that way.
Maybe there's something.
Did you see the Daily
guy.
Show thing? Did you see the Daily Show undecided voters, where they had a forum of undecided voters? How many people are leaning Biden? And one guy raised his hand. And then, how many people are leaning Trump? And this woman raised her hand. And he's like, can you raise your hand higher? And maybe more like a 45-degree angle? There you go.
Right.
There you go.
So true. Yeah. Well, that was the thing, too, is there's a ton of poll jacking going on right now. And one of the other big things that's happening is they know that they've got people who are, maggots have said they're going to infiltrate the undecided voters and the voter polling groups at CNN and other places. That's their goal. And, the Rasmussen crowd puts people in charge here's our leftover list we're not using. Poll jacking is when Rasmussen, for example, will know that a particular polling place, during the primaries, they'll go, we're going to this diner and we're going to hand out our little questionnaires and poll people that are gathered at this diner. Or because they don't call everybody. There's also these questionnaire things that they go to in regions and areas. We'll go to a restaurant and say, hey, is it okay? Would you like to fill out this thing? And what they'll do is Rasmussen will go, okay, we're not going to do that restaurant. You do that restaurant. We'll do another one. And then they call the Trump campaign and they go, the Ipsos is doing a poll at this restaurant on Tuesday. And they flood the place with volunteers. They have a bunch of people come over there and say
Welcome back to the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back, and hi, chat room. And by the way, apparently a lot of folks are talking about how we're playing my short that I put up of Trump's short. Yeah, and you might have to listen very carefully, but I'll play it for you now. Take a listen.
Notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was the sound of Donald Trump filling his underpants with soup during the debate. That's how rough Biden's performance was. That isn't the biggest story in the news. It was audible on every site. I went back. 11640 is the magic number, kids. If you want to go check my math on the C-SPAN feed, 11640. And it's right after he says it's too much money.
On China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous.
That is...
It's tremendous. It's tremendous.
And imagine, they both have lapel mics. They both have mics that are on the stand on their podium.
Yeah.
Imagine how loud that was.
Yeah.
To make it to that mic. Yeah. Also, for the record, the rules stated in this was that 116 farty, everyone is saying in the chat. The rule stated was everybody else's mic was off. Now, I mean, I suppose, so it could not have been Biden, no matter how much people would want. If they'd have both had mics on, I'm sure that people would have made it the point specifically. There's no way Biden didn't hear it. I'm starting to think that Biden's stammer on the question after was 100% him being gassed. There was a chemical war going on that stage. That the drift from they flipped a coin for which podium, and unfortunately Joe's coin landed on downwind.
Yeah,
I think his voice was was hoarse just because even the whiff from backstage was bad. Now that said, the day after, Joe Biden came out and swinging and addressed the thing, grabbed the bull by the horns, and specifically said this.
Let me close with this. I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know. Well, I don't.
They're chanting Joe, by the way.
I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
Such a good retort to this whole thing.
I know right from wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
And then I've seen that, like, the ads, or like somebody made a clip of like, I get knocked down and I get up again, and you're never gonna keep me down. You know, like somebody was saying, like, that needs to be an ad right away. And by the way, this is what you're going to see.
Let's make Chumbawamba cool again.
Right. And by the way, thank you for our super chats as well. Thank you for. Yeah, and Stoic Optimism says, thank you, Hal, for saying the civilian death stats about Trump. No one ever says it. Yeah, I guess what you're talking about is the civilians that are killed by drone strikes under Trump were up 80% in the first year alone over the entirety of the Obama tenure. 8 years of Obama, 1 year of Trump, 80% more civilian deaths.
That seems high.
Yeah. Yeah, so all the warmonger, Democrat, neocon folks, the hand-wringers, need to take a step back and hit themselves in the face with a shovel. Gino says Biden needs a crowd to react to. It's his skill. It's interesting because it hasn't been previously. It really hasn't been. He's never been the orator. Biden was never, to some degree, I think it was too much focus on how good an orator Obama was. Because he was, considering what he was up against, he was able to pass the biggest healthcare legislation, since Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid were created. But most people think of him because of his, he could work a crowd. Biden was never the guy that could work a crowd. As a matter of fact, Biden was the guy that if you sent him out, he would say the quiet part out loud before everybody else did. He would just say the truth. And famously, he's the guy who came out before for gay marriage, before the administration was ready to do it during the campaign.
Hot water for that.
Yeah, he got in trouble because the public wasn't there yet, but it was the honest answer. It's the same thing with Taiwan. Sometimes his policy people have to walk it back, but it's not a lie. If China attacked Taiwan, we would absolutely support Taiwan against China because we have now, and we have had for a long time, military personnel in Taiwan training their people. So an attack on Taiwan, there's no way it wouldn't kill U.S. service people. So of course we'd be dragged into it. It's one of the reasons why China hasn't done it. So, all right, the follow-up to besides the news stories seem to have already made up their minds on a bunch of fronts, which is fine and expected. It's going to take them a while to draft it up, get them to the editor, get back. By the time the New York Times editorials came out the next morning, the news that was coming out at the same time parallel to them was shocking and hilarious and amazing in that Biden got at least a 1 point bump after the debate. They were effectively tied in the groups that they were polling. They had these groups that were half Biden, half Trump voters, or half independent, full independents that were leaning one way or another. And Biden got a 1 point bump from the damn thing. And he had the biggest fundraising that he'd had because people were like, oh crap, this is bad, but people need to know I still back him. So they dumped some money his way. He made more money for the campaign for these, clips of this speech that's coming out and the other stuff that they're doing, which will have to be paid for with ads and feed volunteers and all that kind of stuff. Right? They're going to throw that, that they solved that. I think Trump's was like 8 million the day of. Nothing after, basically. And then today he does this half-filled meeting in Virginia, which seems to be slapdash thrown together on a tarmac just so he could park his plane next to a Russian plane. Did you see that at Dulles? The Russian embassy plane and Trump's plane were parked right next to each other for a period of time. Talk about back channels. Good Lord. So Biden comes out the day after that, and that's what he says. It's a rousing speech. It's well put together. It's on teleprompter, but he's delivering the whole speech as if it isn't. He's going to the teleprompter, but he's looking at the crowd, and he's still doing the speech. He doesn't have to read the entire speech off the teleprompter. There's a very distinct difference between Trump and Biden. And this is how a teleprompter is supposed to work. You're supposed to memorize your speech, and these are your notes, and they're just at eye level. That's traditionally what they were, unless you're doing a last-minute thing and it's all been written in relatively quickly. But if you've got a campaign going and you've agreed on it, you're working on a campaign, you should be able to memorize your stump speech that you're going to do everywhere, but for a couple of mild changes or who's going to be there and that kind of stuff. And you sell your case to the American people. You don't make it up everywhere you go. Right? That's how it used to be. It's because it's a national office. You're not selling something different to everybody. It's not a flim flam. And that's why specifically why, Trump appeals to certain, right wingers because he's so off the cuff, they think, or his blather is just universal nonsense that they're like, he doesn't say the same thing every time. He absolutely does. It's like a Whitman sampler of lunacy. But the day after Biden comes out,
he's got a new way to hate every day.
Yes, he's got a new way to say something stupid. Meanwhile, this is Trump the day after, when, by the way, he should be doing a victory lap. This should be the easiest, most high energy, We got it. This is going to put us 10 points up. People are talking about getting Biden out of this race. Well, I got news for you. The same people who are talking about getting Biden out of the race have been talking about that for a long time. It ain't going to happen. But here's Trump.
These guys, you'll never get them done. You'll never get them done. They don't have any clue. All they know is electric. They want electric army tanks. They want electric planes. What happens if the sun isn't shining while you're up in the air? Well, sir, I told you there'd be problems, sir. No, they want electric everything. They want electric boats. The problem, the boats, they don't float because the battery is so heavy, it sinks the boat. They say, we don't care, we want them anyway. These guys,
Again, I gotta say, like, this is him. Some of the people behind him who aren't bored and not paying attention, are ready to just leave because it's so hot. Who he also said that on a very hot day, global warming is fine. It's fine. He said it's just fine. It's fine. They said it would be hot today, and it's fine. It's not fine. They have to have cooling tents at events on the East Coast. Right? And he's having them outside because he can't get in an indoor venue because no one will take his money. They would if he'd pay. He doesn't pay for the security or the cleanup or any of the stuff. This is, and his stuff on tariffs. It was a mess, a rambly, loose, bizarre mess. There are community notes on X for that little snippet that says the sun is not required for an electric plane to continue flying mid-flight, as the battery would likely be charged fully on the ground.
You think?
This is community notes trying to do what Joe Biden did at the debate. Here's what you do in the future, and this is my note to the Biden campaign and for the next one. In October, 100% focus on Roe v. Wade. That's all that matters. And knock down his BS about them killing babies after the 9th month. It's nonsense. It's terrible. It's horrifying, and it's misogynistic. You could tell this is a man who hates women and thinks that they're monsters on some level. That you would even think that that's a thing that happens. But the rest of it is like he goes. Biden called him a liar. He said that's a bunch of malarkey. Everything he said was lies. At this point, it's just got to be. This is lunacy. This man is mentally insane. It has to go that far. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks.
I was trying to come up with a random thing to plug as we were going away. Apple.com.
Short break, back in 20.
Okay, thank you.
Minutes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 20 minutes. Kick back.
What's that sound? Here she comes. Slow fashion, top down. Hot shoe.
And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. People don't understand what the hard part of that riff is.
Oh, I cannot.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Now, you got to know that Biden and they're gonna, they obviously know what the failure of the debate was. But one of the biggest stories that came up right afterwards, it's still a campaign. Biden's not out. None of the stuff that everybody was wailing about has happened. There'll be some news stories and clips and that kind of stuff. But you got to understand, for the people on TikTok and other places who don't watch the long form anything, they have seen lots of footage of Biden quietly stammering or being told that he's looking off into the middle distance or handshaking with nobody, right? So they didn't watch the debate. They're going to watch a clip of it that, Newsmax or Joe Rogan will show them. And they'll go, yeah, so what? He passed the infrastructure bill and the other guy's against women's rights. And then somebody else is like me is going to post a video of Trump pooping his pants, or Midas Touch is going to put something up of him just blathering out the stuff that people pull from his rando gatherings.
Midas remains very good at that.
Yeah, they're terrific at it, and they're just on it. That said, one of the things, so what's trending on X this morning? Is it just Biden replacement, all over the place, Biden replacement? Nobody wants to hear anything else but that. Who could it be? And the Veep stakes is becoming a POTUS stakes. And, is it that? No. The second thing that's trending this morning, today, less than 48 hours after apparently the worst debate in the history of the world, is the fact that Biden called Trump a one-man crime wave in his remarks the day after. He brought up, obviously, that the only convicted felon, that's up here is this guy. And he even brought up that he sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll in a public place, even to just kind of put forward, how brazen this guy is, right? Yeah. This is the statement.
Pointed out that the only convicted criminal on the stage last night was Donald Trump. When I thought about his 34 felony convictions, his sexual assault on a woman in a public place, his being fined $400 million for business fraud, I thought to myself, Donald Trump isn't just a convicted felon. Donald Trump is a one-man crime wave.
So that again, I saw it in the speech the next day. I think that was maybe one of the phrases they were working on that maybe he would want to have gotten to in the debate. And that's usually what the speech after the debate is to clarify what you wanted to say and do a stronger soundbite version of it. It happens a lot now. Yeah. That's part of the campaign machine these days. Right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. And that's what you do. You come out and do it, let's say you had to do it in the answer of a question, or it wasn't as direct. You come out and you do the bumper sticker versions of all these things. So that
I do that with my stream. I go back and I try to find 40 seconds in a row where I didn't mess something up.
Right. Well, and I think it's also if you're looking for an idea or something strong that came out of it, a lot of times it used to be slapdash. You just wait to see if the candidate came up with something. And now they know better. They go, okay, well, this is stuff we have to hit them on. The campaigns are giant machines now, and and they're much better at putting these ideas together. And so Biden basically came out and put together a speech that he put out the next day that was about a half hour long that was just bumper sticker after bumper sticker and delivered in a way that will be used in ads. It was basically, it was so well put together that in the chat room underneath it, as it was live, MAGA people were in there saying, this is a green screen. They thought the people behind him cheering, apparently cued by what he was saying, was a green screen. Now, never mind, you could watch the entire event up to that point with other people. So apparently the rap guy that he had performing musically, or the other speakers and the senator governors that spoke, those people were apparently really good at working with green screen as well, right? It's goofy. It's so QAnon. But it was clearly, that was their reaction. It was going so well, they were like, what the hell, right? Yeah, AI and green screen. That's what it was. So AI audience members and green screen. Now, by the way, if anybody could do an AI and green screen situation like that, it's the Biden administration, because they understand technology better than any White House in history. And hey, for the Chips and Science Act, who knows? Maybe Samsung built him a virtual AR facility, as a tip. Thanks for letting us invest in Arizona, right? But the weird part, the idea that Biden would perfectly time his statements with this cheering, video in the background, or what they think is available, is just great. Anyways, point being, they went and cleaned this up. And the second thing that is trending on Twitter, and not the for you part, which I get, because that's the other thing. There's this rando, Twitter has 9 different trending windows now. This was just for the generalized feed. The number 2 thing was the fact that Biden was calling Trump a one-man crime wave. And that is a great talking point. Yeah. Because it isn't about, his business fraud. It isn't just about his business fraud. It isn't just about his attack on E. Jean Carroll. that he managed to get away from because of the statute of limitations and the sort of power play of reporting against somebody like that who goes after his accusers so horribly. It's not just about the business fraud of hiding the hush payments and trying to impede voters' knowledge about him in the 2016 election. And it's not just about the classified documents. It's about all of it. It's about his wanton disregard for the rule of law. Donald Trump as a one-man crime wave nullifies the Butch element of his headshot, his mugshot that he uses on all of these shirts and stuff. Which, by the way, I love the fact that they have to pay like a royalty fee to the court system in Georgia to use the mugshot, which
he doesn't own it.
No, he does not own that. So every time somebody's like wearing his shirt, know that is just money that is going to his prosecution. Let me tell you. That probably is the single greatest example of what, business-wise, what an absolute failure machine Donald Trump is. Because not only is he using campaign money to pay his lawyers when he bothers to do it, or to fund his defense by paying witnesses, which is, by the way, where the biggest chunk of the money goes to. If you want to talk about the largest swaths of money directly that are paid out in single form, it's the quote unquote expert witnesses that he buys, because he has to pay them so much money because it's career ending to defend him. Yeah. If you're like, okay, you got to pay me a lot of money because it's probably the last money I'm going to make in this field, because nobody's going to hire me again because I was the guy who came in and defended this crap, right? He's spending campaign money that should be going not only to elect him, but down ballot Republicans. He's selling shirts with his mugshot on it that are financing his prosecution. Think about that for a second. Like, just that is, I don't even know how that has never been possible before. He manages to screw up in magical ways. that everybody, and by the way, I love the good liars. I wish they would bring up to the people that, hey, that's a licensed picture. He has to pay money every time they sell a shirt with that on it that goes to pay for his prosecution. I would love for them to break that to the people wearing it. Oh my God. That would be hilarious.
If they understood.
Well, they will in that moment. Some of them will. Some of them have to react, right? Some of them have to understand. I mean, they all think of themselves, because they're following this guy because he's a businessman, of being smart about this stuff. They at least have to pretend to know that, Trump's a good businessman. You're like, well, then why is he selling shirts that finance his prosecution? Because he has to pay to use that picture, and the rights owner is the court that's after him in Georgia. Yeah, everybody pass this, make a clip of this and pass it on to the good liars. I think it would be brilliant if they bring this up, because there are more of these than I am. Also, Jordan Klepper would be a good thing to remind everybody of. I think I'm the first person to point this out. Pretty sure. I haven't seen anybody else mention this, but I think it's indicative. I think nothing else sums up Donald Trump's business acumen than that. That is, if you want Donald Trump, the businessman, in a nutshell, it's that he takes campaign funds that is supposed to get him and other Republicans elected, because he put his daughter-in-law in charge of the RNC, and they funnel all that money to pay his legal bills on stuff that has nothing to do with the issues that confronted him as president. That, it's all just to patch holes in his business crimes and his personal crimes leading up to the presidency. That's where that money's going to, instead of ads and all that kind of stuff. And the money that he's making off selling his T-shirts with his mugshot on it, or mugs with his mugshot on it, or bumper stickers with his mugshot on it, all goes to finance his conviction in Georgia. You know how he was complaining that Fonnie Willis took vacations and some of that was state funds? Mm-hmm. Those state funds are being replenished by his T-shirts. that's just mind blowing. It's like, anyways. So it should not be surprising to anyone. But what you're going to see, ladies and gentlemen, over the next little bit. Oh, and by the way, can I just say that I posted my the stinky vid. The vid that shows Trump crapping himself, and Mark Hamill responded to it with a barfing emoji. And I gotta say, that's a win. If I can,
It's satisfying, yeah.
Yeah. And JoJo from Jers said, "I effing love you, Hal." It's nice to be on the cutting edge of some of these things, and people around it were, some people were like, I thought I heard it. I thought I heard that, but I wasn't sure. And so the fact that I isolated it and put it out there so that everybody can pull from it is it puts a spring in my step, kids. It's the wind. It's the damp, smelly, chunky wind beneath my wings.
Delicious.
Yeah. It's the beneath my wings. So, and I think that sort of that realization, and I think this cannot be hammered hard enough, is that Donald Trump is financing his own conviction has got to be an even bigger storyline. Everybody, and I wonder if it will affect those folks that are buying the shirts, whether they'll double down. You know what I mean? Because it's that's now
what they
I
do,
cannot.
number one.
Yeah, we got to take a break, but I cannot play because of the language and because of the best parts of it. On the radio, because of the language and because the best parts of it are either language you can't play on the radio or funny, quiet moments behind the person who's speaking. But if you get a chance, check out. I tweeted out on my at Hal Sparks on my X page and what have you. Elton John talking about we're not going to walk back gay rights now and let Donald Trump do this. And Biden's response behind him when he says no effing way. I cannot decide what my favorite part is. Whether it's Elton John saying no effing way, Biden's laugh after he says it, or the fact that Biden genuflects and pretends to run off stage. It's a cute moment. He's like, I gotta get out of here. He's looking directly at one of his staff people, like, I gotta get out of here. It's cute, it's funny, it's very normal and natural. I will post it to Threads as well. Anyways, we'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. So how you had it on 1/4 speed listening for that one fart you maniac? No, I absolutely did not. We heard that live. People saw me hear it live. We heard it live. Yes, here I'll show you the LGBT. Let me try to do this real quick. Let's see. Since we're off air, I'll play this.
Over 540 anti-LGBTQ plus bills were introduced in state legislatures across America this year. Disgraceful. And discrimination and criminalization threaten the lives of our LGBTQ plus family from Kingston.
Coming back at what, sorry?
20.
Okay.
20, yeah, unless you need more time.
No, okay.
To open hearts and minds and find all that misinformation and senseless.
Hold on. It says no effing way right there. That's fine.
No.
That's the bit where Biden is like running off.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
By the way, thank you guys, chat room, for joining us today. Hit that like if you would, share it out. If you're on Facebook, give me an angry emoji if you could. That still drives the algorithm crazy. And of course, I have to say, since my live re-airing of the debate, where I went through it, I had double the amount of people in my chat room that I normally have. It was a huge crowd, and that was just the people in the chat room. That does not include regular viewers. It was an enormous viewing because I think a lot of people were, either waiting to see me miserable or waiting to think it was another, they could come in and dunk on us or something. And it didn't turn out that way, and it was actually, I think, one of the best streams that have happened. So the timing was pretty perfect. That said, at this point, what you are going to see over the next couple of months in particular, leading up, they're going to do, I believe, this week, a virtual roll call for the to determine, make Biden the nominee probably by Friday. That will happen. There will be like 8 or 10 speeches and a bunch of other things before then to kind of quiet down the lunatics and steady this whole thing. And he will officially be the nominee before the actual the convention. Right. And we are, so a lot of this will be put to bed fairly quickly. I think the most shocking thing about it is how quickly it is being put to bed. That even surprised me. And like I said, I honestly thought and again, I don't know why I would believe that Trump would, I actually don't. I knew he would not be able to take advantage of it. And I even said during thank you, Michael, for the super chat. Oh my God. And thank you, Maggie. The SCOTUS stuff we'll talk about a bit now too, because this is going to be a Supreme Court election, and people did not expect it to be. They were assuming, because what will happen is if Donald Trump gets in, he will replace 2 SCOTUS members, and so will Biden. The idea was if Biden gets in, they'll just stay and wait it out till the next person who runs, which will more than likely be Gavin Newsom at this point. That's the belief, around town, that's the tee up. And there's almost no one he can't plant on the Republican side really easily, and he can plant anybody that would get the MAGA votes, and he can plant anybody who would get the Rhino votes. But because currently there is no mix of those voters. The idea that like Marco Rubio is going to be like Trump's running mate, he would literally, if you want to talk about how Trump could screw up this head start that Biden gave him on debate night, he already has. But how could he do it even further? Well, he could put J.D. Vance on and give Democrats multiple videos of J.D. Vance calling Trump America's Hitler. He didn't say, I consider myself a never Trumper, or I can understand blah, 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 all that stuff. No, specifically, he said America's Hitler. That footage is out there, and that will be everywhere if he's the VP. The other one is Marco Rubio. Now, so who are you bringing in with these voters? First of all, Marco Rubio wants to be president. So does J.D. Vance. That scares Donald Trump. That's a personal problem he has with them. Anybody who's going to actually be president, Trump does not want to be, he wants to be president forever. So the idea that he's going to put somebody in there who's willing to take over when he's done, I mean, maybe the only thing, the main category of who he's going to pick is you have to sign a piece of paper that says you'll pardon me as soon as I leave office to get me out of this class, or commute my sentence if I'm already convicted, from the classified documents case or something like that.
Yeah.
But the idea that little Marco is going to be, all the footage from 2016 of Marco Rubio, crapping all over Donald Trump, it's embarrassing. There is nothing like that. They may take a bit of the playbook from Kamala Harris and the race question that came up during the 2020 primary. Now, I said early on, before that moment even happened, it's going to be Biden-Harris. I said it, 8 months before? Like, that's the ticket. That's going to be the ticket, and it's going to be a winning ticket. And there was a lot of, flip-flopping all over the place, but that's how it played out. You're welcome. And so they might try to take something out of it like, well, she said something about Biden and they got together. Well, that's different because Democrats grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So specifically, but in this case, you're talking about someone like Donald Trump, whose ego will be exacerbated by it. I think what people need to do is, if anything, is take those clips all week long and post them on Truth Social under his account of JD Vance saying what he's saying and Marco Rubio's retorts about him and that kind of stuff. So he knows what's coming, so he hasn't forgotten. And believe me, he hasn't. It's just he's got a stack of people who've said worse things about him lately, because since then he's become an adjudicated rapist. So on top of those things that were said, he's actually legally been found liable for sexual assault. So obviously the goalpost has moved on how awful Donald Trump is. Right? All the guys who are supposedly in the front running have said something awful about him because he's awful. I'm sorry, the Kamala folks are upset because I'm saying Kamala Harris instead of Kamala Harris. I beg your pardon. For expedience sakes. By the way, I don't hold the hard A against anyone in pronouncing my name Hal, and oftentimes it has 2 L's at Starbucks, which is a word we all use and is nowhere near my name. And you know what I do? I go, okay. Anyways, point being, there is a huge problem with everybody he would bring to the race with him. They all lose a chunk of the voters. If he puts Marco Rubio on, it might bring some independents or some Republican, people he's called rhinos around, right? But it will lose him a ton of maggots, right? It will lose him, because they're going to go, the rhinos have control of him now. Yeah. Anything that happens, he'll just go, he's part of the establishment, Republicans, blah, blah. And they're doing a George H.W. Bush to Ronald Reagan thing. They're trying to control him, or Cheney to Bush too. They'll react that way. I'm telling you. A bunch of them will go, if he pulls Marco Rubio. I've seen, Lana Douche and all the other right-wingers who've done the Veep stakes. We called it the creep stakes when we did it, we looked at it on the stream. Their response, you know what I mean? They looked at all these folks and said, who would be, and to the person, everybody they recommended, everybody that they were talking about that's on the list, they all referred to it as who he should not pick. Not a single person on that list was somebody they go, this is who he needs to go with. None of them could agree. And it wasn't because this might help him with other voters. They all had a thing that X'd that person out permanently because they were a liability. They were either a rhino member of the Republican establishment, or they were they were too much of a comer and like JD Vance, and they had said things in the past that had because they were trying to leapfrog maggots over Donald Trump and be MAGA without Trump. Remember that window of time a year and a half ago? They were part of that push. Like, who's going to be the next Trump? He lost so terribly, and he's going to again. Right? He's going to again. Horribly. It's going to shock the crap out of them. But that each one of them is about, and Tim Scott will never happen. Like the idea that he would have, if he had a black VP, there's a huge group of voters who would go, oh my God, maybe I'll give this Trump guy maybe everything I've heard about his racist inclinations is wrong. Right? There's an absolute possibility that those voters would come on. But he would lose every member of the Turning Points USA crowd. How do you think Charlie Kirk and his crowd are going to respond to a black VP? Charlie Kirk, who, by the way, after Trump went to his all-white black church gathering, we'll figure out what hashtag black jobs are later. He means poor people jobs. That's what black people do, according to Donald Trump. That's what black jobs are. Let's be honest. That's what he's talking about. After he went to his all-white black church, he followed that up and went to a Turning Points USA gathering with Charlie Kirk, where they held up flags that said White Boy Summer. And Charlie Kirk, who runs that organization, said if he gets on a plane and the pilot is black, it would scare him because he doesn't believe he's qualified. He said this on the air. This isn't even something like there's a hot mic moment. He said it on the air. You think if you're willing to say something like that out in front of everybody, what's the part you won't say in public?
Yeah.
And you think those guys, that guy, that racist scumbag, bless you. I know you're allergic to racism like that, and I appreciate that about you. It's a physical reaction. You think racist scumbags like that are going to react kindly to a Haley VP or a Tim Scott VP or a Byron Donaldson or a Ben Carson? Seriously? You think those people are going to hang on? You think because Trump's a spring chicken? Maybe if he was 65 when he was running, they would feel this way. But they know he's old and doddering and jelly-headed, and they're more scared of him in that regard than they are of Biden. So whoever is might have to take the reins. That's what everybody's been talking about with Kamala Harris and Biden. You think that's not the conversation around Trump? Watch any of his rallies in the next week. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Philip Ittner will be joining us from Ukraine, and we'll certainly talk about the progress that's being made there. Russia it's interesting. This has eaten up so much of the news that people don't even recognize how badly Russia is doing currently because America is back, having their back.
Let's hope.
Yeah, this is here, I'll show you. Debate erupts over black jobs term. Again, this is not what the follow-up to that debate should be. Right? Any other, I'm dead serious, Nikki Haley, any other John Kasich, Ted Cruz, any of these folks, any of them following up that, Biden's performance would have seriously, they would have all been able to, it would have been just dunking on Biden for days with zero gaffes, zero screw ups. And one of the things that I heard that was probably the most honest piece of reporting was the Haley people, I forget who said it. It might have been folks from the Lincoln Project or something, but if Nikki Haley had been on that stand instead of Donald Trump, they would have all said, we're gonna be 10 points ahead by tomorrow. What do we do with that lead? Do you know how bad Trump's performance had to be to lose the lead, the layup that Biden gave him? You know how bad a screw up you have to be by all measures that matter, Biden won the debate. He's getting more people over to his side, and especially Hispanic voters. One of the biggest things that afterwards was Hispanic voters leaned his way, and nobody could figure out why. Well, it was because Univision put this thing on, and they had translators, and the translator didn't have a raspy voice, and the translator just waited and said what Biden said. And so both of them translated what the other person was saying with, as directly as they could. Hey, Phil, welcome. I'll pop you in here in a second if I can. Let's see. I'm going to pop Phil in here. There we go. Give me 1 second, kids. There we go. Yeah. Oh, lost him there for a second. Hopefully he's back. Oh, nope. Come back. Done. Close. Hopefully he'll come back. I'm so tiny. What happened to me?
Look at you. You're in the middle.
Enough joke.
Little sprout.
All right. Well, better. There he is. Thanks. Hi, Phil. There you are. Yeah.
Hey.
So, to screw up that lead, that's how bad Trump had to do. And when they showed the people on Univision were listening to the translation, so the voices weren't raspy, and nobody was louder than anybody else. Biden's mic was quieter than Trump's. It's a serious bunch of stuff. The second debate is in October, and will be all about Roe v. Wade if there's any justice in the universe. They all came away saying Biden sounds like he cares. He knows the issues. He's got direct rebuttals to the stuff Trump said, and September. You're right. Trump said, the stuff he said was either nonsense or had nothing to. He wouldn't answer the question. He was all over the map. He was, he was defensive. All that stuff. That's what they said because they didn't hear the raspy voice and the stammering didn't bother them. Yeah, there's still a second debate coming. My nose is asking for candy. Is it? But yeah, so that was going to be. We lost Phil. I thought that's happened. Sorry, I'm very distracted trying to make sure that he pops on. He's gone, and he'll be back again. I see it before you guys see it. I see it blink off. Huh?
His connection looks good.
It looked good at the time, right? I couldn't tell what the thing was that was causing it. So then his back. No? Yes? He's almost. There he is. You look like a good
coming back in
You
time.
got a solid connection, Phil. At least we see it there, but hopefully you'll stick.
Well, I'm on battery. So
okay, all right.
You don't get power back.
If it becomes an issue
for another 2 hours,
we'll cover we'll make sure to plug the. Yeah, we're coming back.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So Philip Ittner's joining us from Ukraine right now. He's on battery because the power is out there because they have limited power there. We can always tell because the poster of Olga has lights around it, and if they're not on, we know that they're conserving. Before we even get started, in case we lose you, Phil, Philip has a new podcast called On the Edge. Please check it out on his YouTube channel. Every Sunday they're putting out a new. A new guest that they have, and it's a very in-depth view of what's going on there, as we like to have here as well. And hopefully that did it. Okay, so welcome, Phil. How are you, first and foremost?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, this power thing is it's really difficult. It's very difficult. I have about another 2 hours before I'm supposed to get power for about a 3 hour block, and then it'll go off for another 3 to 5 hours. Get it back sometime in the early morning here for about another 3 hour window. But all of this has knock-on effects. Like I got food poisoning this week because some food that was in my refrigerator went off. I mean, I got 3 hours of power one day this week.
That's horrible, Phil.
There's oops. Yeah, he may go in and out, folks. That's just going to be the nature of it.
It makes this connection a little less reliable.
That's right. So he'll pop back on, and we'll cover that when he does. We'll make sure that we're there. In the meantime, I will address some of the news that's coming out of that is directly tied to this, and we'll bring him back on point. If we can't get him back, we'll address it on Wednesday. But nope, here he comes again. There he is. Welcome back.
Yep.
It's okay.
I switched to another story, so
gotcha.
It'll stick on. I mean, it's one of those things where you eat something and almost instantly your body is like, oh, that wasn't that wasn't good.
I had a similar situation in China.
The food is rotting.
I had a similar situation in China when I was there, and it was one of those things where, like, 3 hours later, my body went, yeah, you might need to get everything out of your system, and we don't care. Some of it might come out your ears. You may be bleeding this goo because we just need to out your eyeballs. This has to go. Yeah, it's no fun. So I'm
according to the expiration date, I had a few more days. But obviously, they take into consideration that the food would be refrigerated.
Right. You eat or refrigerate by ... Right, yeah.
And you didn't have any kids to feed it to. That's what my parents used to be like, here, smell this. Does this seem okay?
Is this,
Go ahead and try it.
Yeah, it's how I developed my skills as a comedian. They're like, does this smell funny to you? Yes, it does. That's how I learned early. I would like to say also,
and then
for
the
a
other,
man with
the
a
other
keep calm and carry on tattoo, you should know about canned shelf meats at this point.
Oh no, everything is from now on in. Everything is dried or canned.
Yeah,
I learned my lesson. No more
Good.
refrigeration. No relying on refrigeration. The other thing that it forces you to do, this is just of course anecdotal in my circumstance, but it kind of tells you bigger picture issues. But in my case, one of the things that I'm a little bit sleepy today because I had a 3-hour window between 3 and 6 in the morning where I had electricity, so I had to take advantage of it to do my laundry because you don't always know when you're going to have power. So I mean, it's that's little stuff. I mean, me getting a mild case of food poisoning or having to stay up late to do
this time of
year is not particularly a big deal, but it's indicative of something larger, and that is that the attack on the civilian infrastructure here and the electricity grid it changes your whole life. You have to accommodate. Every single citizen of Ukraine has to accommodate and has to adjust their life completely because Russia decided that it wants to attack the civilians of this country. So,
by the way, it's attacking this country directly, I would argue right now, not to mention, a bunch of stuff where they're messing with the elections and the like. But I don't know if you saw the footage or whatever, but Trump's plane was parked next to the Russian embassy jet on the tarmac at Dulles. And I would like to remind everyone of the footage they also saw a couple of years ago and that have been seen regularly in the Jack Smith case of them putting boxes, just like the ones full of classified documents, onto his plane to bring them up to Bedminster or something else so that they were cleared out of Mar-a-Lago. And the copy machine that was at Mar-a-Lago in the same room as all those boxes, and the binder of raw Russian intel that has been missing since he left the White House. A redacted version of it was found, but the unredacted raw version of that intel has been in the wind since he left office. And now his plane is just accidentally parked way out on a private area on the Dulles tarmac, right next to the Russian embassy plane. Again, all I can hope is that the CIA has a staff member who's out there acting like a baggage handler. But good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he got rid of one of the first things he did when he got into the Oval was decapitate the Russia department at the FBI. He took out the guys who counter foreign espionage domestically within the United States, and in particular Russia. And all these things, it's just there's too much accumulated information that has him way too cozy and way too close and way too acting hand in glove with the Kremlin to be ignored anymore. And
be an accident.
No, it's not an accident. We've talked about it many times, but I just have to reiterate it time and time again. We are in an active information war with Russia. Russia considers us at war, and they're acting accordingly. And they have attacked our body politic, and that we need to be constantly aware of it. And it's not a little thing. It's not like lobbying for the Saudis or for the Israel lobby. And no, these are attacks. These are meant to harm the United States. They are not meant to manipulate our body politic. They are meant to destroy our body politic. It is an attack. It is not lobbying. It is not influence. It is a coordinated information warfare attack. And we still seem to be acting as though those pesky Russians, they're gonna meddle. That's just what they do. No. This This is somewhere in what's called the aquarium. Now, the aquarium is, you know how we sometimes CIA will refer to Langley as the farm?
Yes.
It's the same thing. The head of the GRU, Russia's military intelligence, is an underground bunker just outside of Moscow called the aquarium. And it's called the aquarium because it is this kind of like, you go into this underground. Yeah, you're sealed. You're inside this like encased habitat. Where Mike Flynn disappeared for 2 days back in like 2015, 2014. Anyhow, regardless, the point is worth making that this is not just some sort of like, abstract, meddler's going to meddle. No, this is calculated. It is planned. It is thought out, and it's meant to harm us. Not just manipulate.
Yes,
not just, it's meant to hurt us.
That's what's drawing a lot of attention. I mean, obviously, Trump is a Russian stooge at this point. He often will make the defense that the idea that people think I'm a Russian spy or a Russian agent, like nobody thinks you have the talent or capability to be a Russian spy or Russian agent. Obviously he attempted his one attempt at trying to do spy-like activity, which was working with Walt Nada and Oliveira to bring boxes from that padlocked room and the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago into his office so he could sift through them, take out files that he'd hidden between pictures, put them in a different folder, bring them, and share them with people, is the closest he's come. And we know about it. They tried to, it appears they tried to flood the server room, right? Mm-hmm. At Mar-a-Lago to erase the video, which was just idiotic. Like everything, it's the Keystone Cops version. It's almost like the original Casino Royale with Peter Sellers in the Bond role. It's much closer to that. Here's audio of Trump saying that he had foreknowledge that Putin was going to escalate in Ukraine.
When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. When Putin...
That's okay. So a lot of people are pointing out the fact that he said, I talked to him about it being after Afghanistan, meaning he spoke to him in the interim between then, instead of like when he was president. Now, I think he's referencing when he was president. But I also believe, for the record, that the plan kind of all along was, do it, you can attack, but attack in my second term, and then I'll do everything to hold off, and it'll be an election issue going into the next thing. And by the time the Democrats could even possibly get somebody to stop you, 4 years, if not 6, will have passed before they could even get legislation or do anything about it. And so Ukraine will be on such the back foot. And then when he lost the election, which he did, I think they had to put off their plan for a year. Was all. It was the same attack. They were going to do it basically around January, but then after he lost, he had to do his own attack on the Capitol, and both would have seemed extraordinary and would have made him look even more criminal because, I see, your buddy Russia's using this as cover. It looks like you're making people attack the Capitol just to give them cover. It would have been even worse for him. So they wait a year because they missed the window. And they know that Biden would be coming in on the 21st and immediately respond. It would be a huge response. Now, they thought, I don't know why, that the response wouldn't be that huge. They forgot that perhaps Obama was less likely to push forward when it came to, the Russian attack on Ukraine at the time in 2014. But Biden was like, no, we don't trust any of these guys. He was aware of the little green men storyline early on. They talk about it, even in the Obama books, he was like, this is worse than we think at the time. And everybody around him was like, well, it's not something we should mess with. Yes, it is. So we got to take a break. When we come back, there's, obviously, there's internal stuff going on in Ukraine right now. And Russia is running out of options and materials and every aspect of this. It's obviously been hidden by our domestic politics, and it will be a little bit. But I can't. Maybe Phil could tell us whether it's benefiting Ukraine or harming the effort. We'll be back right after this. Also, people are asking about my shirt. This is from the Ukraine night that we did, the Ukraine benefit that we did for the Ultimate Jam night. This is the shirt we made and sold, and the proceeds went to help get, in the beginning of the war, get food aid and stuff to Ukrainian refugees who were having to flee parts of the country and they needed support. And we had a Ukrainian singer come and perform, some classic American hits. It was good. I don't know who designed it, but they did a damn fine job. If I do say so myself, I almost feel like we should do this and just put a Megaworldwide under here and make a new version of it just for everybody here because it's pretty sweet. Yeah. I'm bringing this up. I gotta say, like the Trump's jet parked next to the Russian jet.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Like that.
And what the one thing he also did do, because he's kind of got this intuitive marketing thing that he does. I don't think he's talented at marketing. I just think he taps
coming back in
some
20.
sort of zeitgeist.
Thank you.
The whole Russia, diminishing everything by this kind of Russia, Marsha, kind of making it that dismissive, where he can just like slough off anything by just saying Russia, and everybody goes, no, man, no, it's not just Russia. They're trying to mess with us. They're trying to screw us over. But he did do that.
To the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. Phil was just making an excellent point about how Trump has a tendency, in his branding diminishment of these issues that you were saying about the Russia thing, that it has often been sound like Marsha.
Marsha. It's clearly tapping into that, and it's being so dismissive about a very serious issue, and that is Russia's interference in our body politic and in our elections and in civil society and in business, and take your pick. I mean, they're attacking on a number of different levels, and to narrow it down to a Russia, so you can just slough off everything.
Ukraine, right?
Right, exactly. This kind of like, everybody kind of has a chuckle and goes, "Oh, you," and then we move on. No, we don't move on. What is going on? What exactly are you doing in your communications with the Russians?
Right.
What exactly are you also doing on the tarmac?
There's also this weird disconnect from some of the, and this is probably where the Rhino establishment disconnect with maggots comes from, is you've got, people from Lindsey Graham to Marco Rubio to others saying, there's a real threat from China and Russia. There's a real threat. They are our biggest threat. They're especially when it comes to China. And a lot of them, this may be where the Haley voters are coming from. This may be where his diminishment with, right-leaning independents is coming from, is this kind of like by downplaying them and saying, and his quote was, Russia and China would not be enemies of the U.S. if we had a smart president, which is just absurd. Like, again, it's ahistorical. It's idiocy. No one believes this. And what do you mean smart president? What he means is he could get a deal from these guys if he let them do whatever they wanted to do. Yeah. And then, in the same way, what he thinks is going to be all tariffs on China and no sanctions on Russia. That's what he thinks. That's so far. That's all I can determine that his strategy is.
Well, and in the debates when he says I could wrap this up in 24 hours, or right. I could. No, you
get Evan Gershkovich back. He said that in the debate, which is nonsense.
Which is also, by the way, holding him hostage by basically saying, elect me or, you'll never get Gershkovich back. Right. It's disgusting. But his interaction with the Russians is basically to say, I'll give them everything that they want, and we'll kind of like it denies agency of both Russia and Ukraine, because if he knew the situation, he would know that this war was almost an inevitability. I mean, look at episode 2 of On the Edge is an interview with one of Ukraine's leading diplomats. And in that, this is the guy who was posted to Moscow in 2014 when the war really started. And he was at the UN when, the recent full-scale invasion happened. And this is a diplomat. This is a career diplomat whose entire professional endeavor is to avoid war. And he sat down with me and he said, no, Putin was dead set on doing this. So for Trump to say that ignores the reality of the situation and belies a massive lack of understanding of the historical reasons why this is happening and the reason why Putin has taken it upon himself to engage in this war. It was a decision made by Putin for a variety of reasons, which of course Trump has no idea about. But it also robs Ukrainians of agency. And to say that because the other thing he has said is, I would tell the Ukrainians that if they don't go to the peace table, I'm going to stop giving them weapons. That won't stop Ukrainians fighting. All it will do is mean more Ukrainians dead and a massive resentment of the West abandoning them. You have to read Ukrainian history. The West and the world has abandoned Ukraine twice in their efforts to fight a war of independence against the imperial power that is Moscow. And this is a colony of Moscow. They have tried to seek their independence twice. This is the third time. And twice in their history, they were betrayed, abandoned, ignored, let down by the West. And if we do it again, Ukraine will not stop fighting because this is the last war of independence. They will not give up what they've taken and
here's obviously the interesting thing in that argument as well, and I don't think people bring it up enough, is that in terms of stopping the war or anything, he has no leverage against Russia and 100% leverage on Ukraine in his mind, because he actually thinks it's not just that he thinks I can control them because if they don't have our weapons, they'll get wiped out, as if they'll stop fighting, or as if it won't just force the Europeans to double down on the amount of stuff that they give them, because it again is on their doorstep. And it would leave them weakened if Russia decides, okay, this is our one final push to try and claim big chunks of Europe, and screw it. We're in World War III now, and they're all afraid of our nukes, so we could just do conventional warfare everywhere. That's a possibility. But he has, he doesn't believe the sanctions are working against Russia. The right wing over here does not believe it, even though they're all believing, whatever Tucker Carlson is serving up. I'm sure we have questions in our chat room that I want to get to specifically, but I also want to say thanks to Vicky for the super chat. Hal, thanks very much for the good news. Hey, I don't make it, I just report it, but you're absolutely welcome. And Govin 00, it's hard to read your screen name. Trump went full post-truth Führer last night. It was brilliant. He's like a Palestinian, which he said about Schumer, which no one knows what the ever-loving hell he is talking about. And yeah, oh my God. And Peter sent a super chat for the Tuskegee Airmen salute. Right.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah.
If I can just take off one hat for a quick second and put on another hat. I'll take off my Ukraine-Russia hat, and I'll put on my TV producer hat. I knew and a little bit about domestic politics in the States is you have to understand I did not watch the debates because they happened
You're not alone.
An hour that was just well, also a lot of people didn't tune in because those things are boring. Generally they tend to be it's kind of like going to a Indy 500 and you want to see a crash. I think a lot of people tune in. A lot of people obviously tune in for politics. Anyhow, I'm getting off the point. The point I would like to make as a veteran television news producer with 25 years plus under my belt, I knew, because I didn't watch it at the time, I knew that so much of what actually would be consumed would be edited snippets. And you can't really effectively edit the ums and the ahs and the kind of his demeanor, Biden's demeanor. That doesn't lend itself to sound bites and clipping. You could do a montage, and I'm sure that's what we're going to be looking at of this kind of. But their montages, when you talk about television, are never as impactful as a solid hit, as a sound bite, as an SOT, a sound on tape. they have been. You know, those who didn't watch it, and as you mentioned those earlier, as I was waiting to come in, listening to you talk about those who didn't deal with the actual voices, for example, those who, the Telemundo crowd and all this was always going to be a debate that we'd be one on points after the fact, because sound bites would be snipped and clipped out of it, and Biden's hits were better in soundbite form than they were on the night. And also you can clip out Trump bites and go, that's crazy, that's a lie. The sound bites are more effective than the debate on the night. I'm not trying to polish a bovine,
a road apple
excretion. A road apple. But I did the moment I started seeing the reactions and everything, I was like, oh, they're freaking out, but they don't understand. But they're freaking out because they went through it. You know, the pundit class are freaking out. But when it comes down to actually clipping this stuff up, there's a lot more for the Democrat side to clip up than there is for the Republican side to clip up, because you can't clip up the kind of meandering ums and ahs and
exactly
how Biden was on the night. It doesn't edit well. It montages.
Well said.
Doesn't edit.
After we got to take a break. When we come back, that's an excellent point, and it goes a long way towards why, like, again, Latino voters who were watching it in Spanish or translated had the same feeling about it, because they were hearing it. You know, the demeanor of the president didn't matter. What he actually communicated did. And that's a similar situation. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we'll have questions from our chat at infotainmentwars.com, on the Facebook page, the Hal Sparks page on Facebook, and, of course, from our friends over on Twitch, twitch.tv. If you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime. If you want to subscribe, we need to get our subscribers up, and I never remember to mention it, so I am now. We'll be back right after this. Hold on one second. I wish this background window was bigger now in retrospect, but I'm trying.
The other thing about this, while you're working that out, Hal, the self-defeatism, I'm getting really, really concerned about the self-fulfilling prophecy of the defeatism.
Yeah.
Of like, we are so afraid of Trump, and that only feeds that negativity, and that fear feeds MAGA like manna from heaven. And we have this is just my 2 cents. I see the guys from Pod Save America saying, "Oh, we got to get a different candidate."
Oh
or
my God!
Course,
they were really wigging out.
They were really wigging out. Or of course, Cenk over at TYT. I mean, which I have.
They don't want him anyways. They
don't want
all
him anyways.
Disingenuous.
They don't want. Yeah, they're doing the same thing they always do. But this self-defeatism, we have to get away from like, oh my gosh, what's going to no, we're going to beat him. It's not negativity or fear. It's positivity and aggression. We're going to stop this guy. And this is how we're going to do it, because we have to. Not this reflexive fear. It has to be proactive. We have to transition. Again, this is just my humble opinion as an American. And somebody who's followed politics and all and seen politics around the world. Stop being afraid. Start being proactive. Start saying the guy is wrong for the country. This is why he's wrong, and we are going to beat him. And this is how we're going to beat him. And it's the right thing to do to beat him. We will not be afraid of you. We're not going to give you that power over us. The fear that because you're crazy. You guys are crazy. You guys are talking about destroying the American experience, and that's terrifying. But if you let the terror and the fear into your system, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Agreed.
No, I reject that. Let's fight them. Let's fight them with everything we have, with positivity, and say, we are going to beat you. We are not afraid of you.
Stand by, coming back.
We see you, and we're going to beat you.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I said this earlier in the show, Phil, that when they were talking about the subject of Ukraine in the debate, Biden, I had felt like a lot of people, because everybody was anxious about the tone of Biden's voice and the quietness of his voice, that, oh my God, or is trying to, I think, shoehorn too many talking points into one thing. and understand that this, I think saying what you were saying is that everything has got to be clippable these days, and Biden's stuff is eminently more clippable, ironically enough, than Trump's was. Because I can't think of a single thing that they would use in that other than Biden's the worst guy ever, and stuff he says at his rallies that you have other video of him having. None of it came from the debate in that regard, whereas Biden got some real points on the board, especially he's like, that's the most, biggest bunch of malarkey I've ever heard. Everything he said was lies. He goes, I'll trust them to fact check them. Cat. Yeah, they're right. The morals of an alley cat. That stuff stuck. But one of the moments,
that clip's real good.
It is. One of the moments that I brought up was the fact that when I watched it the first time, the delay between him saying thousands have died, thousands of Russians have died in Ukraine, and then he got to 500,000 as the number, seemed like forever for him to take it. And that's because I watch this all the time. You and I care about this. We talk about this all the time. It's an extraordinary number. And to me, that's the number. Just hammer it. But on the rewatch, he said thousands and thousands, 500,000. Like he said it right away. But to me, it was like, what's this delay? And I will chalk that up to my initial reaction matching what a lot of other people were, how they were kind of reacting. But he got it out there. And that is, I'm showing it on screen right now for a specific reason, is that I need people to know that this is, the number is right now, 541,560, 1,000 in the last 24 hours. 25 armored vehicles, 57 artillery systems, 29 drones, 2 cruise missiles were knocked out of the air, 54 vehicles and fuel tanks, these are the things that don't bring the people, they bring the food and the fuel and the ammo. 54 of them were destroyed. That's 19,568 so far. In 2 years, look at the number of losses that Putin has been, when we talk about his total lack of respect for human life. But let's just go on Trump's idea that he somehow knows what he's doing and he's good at this stuff. There is no universe outside of Russian apologetics that says this is a sign that you're doing it right. This, to me, is a stunning number on every metric, and I don't know why they're not confronted with it every single time. The Ukrainians have killed, or removed from the battlefield 541,560 soldiers, even during the time when they were being denied munitions by right-wing Republicans in our military. They still continued to fight on. You think they're going to stop because Trump tells them to knock it off and just key up Russia to do it again? It's never going to happen.
They'll never stop. Ukrainians will not stop. The only thing it'll result in is more dead Ukrainians and more deep-seated resentment against the United States for having it.
That's right.
That's the only thing that'll happen.
Right.
And it'll be a massacre. It will be awful. But anyhow, and also just while we're still on that topic, briefly, as we talk about, how bad this has been for Russia, Gazprom, the pillar of the Russian economy, is the state.
We spoke about this on Wednesday.
Petroleum, natural gas. They are operating in the red. It is the single most important corporation in Russia. It props up the Russian economy, and for the first time in its post-Soviet history, it's operating in the red. Things are not going well for Russia. Don't believe this concept from the right saying, well, the sanctions aren't working. No. The sanctions are working. They could be working better. We could tighten the screws in a lot of different ways.
We also just added sanctions.
And they just did. That's right. Yeah.
And that in and of itself, I think, is one of the stories that's kind of slipping by. Let's grab some questions, though, because I know Johnny's been farming them diligently in the back.
And also watch Bill Browder's interview on the edge. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, John.
Got a question here from Connie Kelly. How is Ukraine reacting to Trump's comment that as president-elect, he would end the war there?
Complete dismissiveness. The fact that the man knows nothing of what he's talking about. Yeah. And also a recognition that he is a tool of the Kremlin. It's nothing new.
Yeah, he would just hand everything over.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. Or he would try.
Right.
He would say to Ukraine, I'm not going to support you anymore unless you accept Putin's demands, in essence. And Ukraine is never going to accept that. And they would go on fighting it would probably cause a split in the transatlantic alliance, because Europeans would also be like, hey, America, what's up, and I mean, already we're seeing, I mean, the statement that Trump made in the debate about how we're giving more than the Europeans, that's just patently not true. It's just not true. Per capita GDP, Europeans are giving significantly more than America is. It's just America is the arsenal of war and the single largest economy on the planet. So it's the arsenal of freedom, and a huge economic bloc. But the Europeans are massively stepping up to the plate because they're the ones most greatly affected. So no, Trump has no idea what's happening here. He'll do whatever Putin wants him to do.
Again, I don't
he
think
will not rob Ukraine of its agency.
I think more footage of that, of his plane parked next to the Russian plane needs to be played on CNN and other sites, drawing attention to this. Because again, what are the odds? He's not parking next to the plane from Tajikistan or the Philippines or the embassy plane from Poland. It's specifically the Russian plane, and for a good period of time.
And more awareness of Manafort and his interaction with the Russians while in the 2016. More conversation about the head of the Northeast Bureau of the FBI being on the Russians' payroll or, corrupt in bed, receiving bribes. More conversations about decapitating the FBI investigative unit that goes into Russian espionage. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. More awareness needs, and we need to also stop at some point. There's a preponderance of evidence, and you have to go not based on any one single piece of evidence, but all of these pieces of evidence together. And we need to really raise awareness that all of this evidence together paints a very clear picture, and that is that Trump is compromised by the Kremlin, and he is not acting in our interest. He is more interested in what Vladimir Putin wants than what your average American wants. We need to be screaming that from the rooftops. And I don't, maybe I'm biased, but I don't think that message has really landed, that Russia is attacking us. We're under attack. It's an attack on our body politic, but it's an attack nevertheless. He doesn't know what he's talking about, Connie. So the Ukrainian reaction has been concerned, but recognizing that Trump is compromised.
Right. Let's grab another one, Johnny. I think we have time for the break.
We got one here from Nick Rich. Are the F-16s being used yet?
No, they're not. They're going to be imminently. I have it on good authority that they will be rolled out quite differently than other weapon systems have been rolled out. They will not be distributed and then kind of like you'll see them here, you'll see them there, you'll see them the other place. The expectation I have is that when the F-16s are in the air, we're all going to know it. It's going to be undeniable. Moscow will know it. It will be some show of real serious force. Things may have changed since I spoke to my source about that, but I expect the F-16s in the air imminently. We see on the ground a concerted effort to destroy air defense on both sides of the equation. So clearly both sides are gearing up for some sort of air dominance war. And whoever comes out on top of that will have air superiority, and by gaining air superiority, a lot of other things will fall into place. The F-16s aren't there yet. We'll know when the F-16s are in the air because it's gonna be undeniable, and it's gonna be some form of massive attack. Is my understanding.
There's I watch a lot of the Russian Telegram channels and to see how their perception of the war is, but also like kind of local stuff in St. Petersburg and almost like local inside news about there and about Moscow. And one of the things that I'm increasingly seeing in Russia are mass shootings. And it seems like this was, it used to be very difficult to get a gun or maintain having a gun in Russia because their rules are so strong, about it. But now it seems like a lot of the criminals who are being taught and allowed to fight to get out of jail in Ukraine are either coming back with weapons and then using them, or selling them when they come back and then using them, and then the people they sell them to are using them. And I've never seen this many inside the city. It's a sea change. Never mind the other stuff that buildings are still on fire in Moscow, and there's a tremendous number of there's still an oil plant there that's been on fire for weeks now. And nobody's there to put it out because allegedly the people, I guess, who know how to put out a fire like that are dead in Ukraine, I suppose. Let's
you can see the fraying of civil society as well. And Russians
that's exactly right.
Under a great amount of strain.
It's a shame Tucker's not there to film it. Let's grab one more question, Johnny.
Sure thing. I've got this one from Lindsay. What is Ukraine saying about Trump's peace plan claiming funds would be withheld unless they come to the negotiation table?
Well, again, we're rehashing old territory, but I'll say it again. Ukrainians will not stop fighting. It doesn't. We have to. It's a hard message to understand, but I'm going to try it again. Ukraine's war effort to defend itself is not dependent on the U.S.'s decision to support them or not. Tangibly, with military aid and with financial aid, yes. And they will make a huge difference in the way the war is conducted. But the war itself to defend Ukraine from Moscow will never stop. It won't ever stop. And I talk about look, tomorrow's episode is an episode with a guy by the name of Terrell Jermaine Starr. And he's an African-American guy who's been coming here for as long as I have. And we talk about this, the fact that they will never stop resisting Moscow because Moscow's designs on Ukraine is nothing short of genocidal. So they can't stop fighting. The only difference, if we withdraw our support and we try and threaten them, go to the peace table or we'll stop giving you weapons, the Ukrainians will say, we will not go to the peace table. We will die before we submit to Moscow because they know what that looks like.
Because there's no upside to this.
Centuries.
Right. It's
and there's
absurd.
No way they survive.
Again, people need to go back and look at the 1997 NATO-Russian founding agreement and understand that the Russians agree that the Ukrainians could join NATO if they wanted to. It's up to everybody to decide. They're all sovereign states. They're allowed to do whatever they want. And then they had already attacked Chechnya and they immediately attacked Georgia right after that. Their word means nothing. And to some degree, this should inform how we form treaties with them in the future, knowing that they sign them with no intention on following through. It's just an attempt to get the other side to relax their defenses. It's a fake out. That's what it is. Yeah. And that's why it feeds into my belief that 91 was a rope-a-dope. But I will go to the grave with that one, apparently, being the only person who really believes that, but I'm cool with that. We got to take a break. We'll be back with more questions from for everybody, for Philip. And don't forget to check out On the Edge, his podcast. And we'll be back right after this.
I get your point about the rope-a-dope concept. The one thing that I kind of would push back on is that it was some sort of conscious decision, that it was a rope-a-dope in the way that the Ali Frazier, fight.
Yeah, I think they could have.
I think they really did collapse. They really
I do too, but I think they could have fought on weaker and weaker and diminished, and they said, if we quit now, they will give us enough room to rebuild ourselves because they're suckers and they will believe we're good guys and we could play on them. And I don't think everybody believed that. I think they were in the middle of a genuine collapse. But I think the Putins of the world said, we'll totally sell this. Yeah. We'll totally play into this. And in the end, we'll come back around to get what we want after we've reconstituted ourselves.
Yeah, I agree that Putin and his ilk, in both the intelligence services, security services, and the military, were always like, we may be down now, but there's going to come a time. and we'll be back. And when we're back, we're going to take it to the West. We will. The South will rise again, sort of mentality.
Yeah.
Of we'll take it on the chin now, but we'll bide our time, and ultimately we will return, and we will be this massive power on the global stage. And our number one enemy is the one who has just embarrassed us and defeated us in the Cold War. So I don't think it was a planned rope-a-dope. I think it was an acceptance that they'd lost, but that ultimately they'd find their way back and they would make those evil
but by
Americans
pretending to be like, oh, we're friends now, by not admitting that was what they would do. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, certainly. I knew quite a few Russians who genuinely were like, hey, finally détente between the East and West. We can now we can build something. And then of course they got marginalized.
Right. They also got scooped up later and killed.
Nemtsov. Look at Nemtsov. Yeah, look at Nemtsov. Nemtsov to me is the prime example of that. Navalny is Nemtsov is.
Yeah.
Killed on Red Square. But he was genuinely like, we can find a way to make this a positive, the collapse of the Soviet Union. We can finally join the country, the family of nations as a regular nation. Putin had, and his ilk, had no intent of doing that. They were always going to be the West is our enemy, always has been, always will be, and it manifests itself.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Coming back. And thank you, chat room, by the way. Hit that like while you're at it. And share the show out.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! Hooray! I gotta say, I think my biggest happy ending is a surprise one. This Mini Zelensky. Hello, Mini Zelensky. Mini-er, I suppose. Mini-est Zelensky's not a big dude. So, and neither are astronauts, and they're brave as hell. So there you go. I will say, and I showed on the live stream my kid colored in a page of Happy Father's Day for me and made a little poster for me and stuff. And it's still so super nice. I think the happiest ending that I can give everybody out there is that besides the punditry and the chattering class, the general response to Biden's debate performance has either been a wash or a net positive for Biden, both in fundraising and in response to what he actually said, which by all stances, when we were all first watching it the first time, is a friggin' miracle. There's no other way to describe it. But it's happening. It's absolutely the reality. And Donald Trump continues to dig himself a hole during this time, not just with bad post-debate speeches where he's doing the same wandering garbage that he's doing, but denigrating the United States and parking his plane right next to the Russian plane, just making it that much more obvious that who he's in the tank for.
Yeah. Well, Clinton was right in 2016. They'd rather have a puppet. No puppet. You're the puppet.
You're the puppet.
No, dude, you're the puppet.
Right.
You're the puppet.
And also I thought Biden's bit, and again, these are all good sound. There's my TV news producer hat back on.
Yep.
These are great sound bites to clip up and use ad infinitum.
I agree.
I've never seen a president who denigrated America more than you do. No president, thinks that we're this destroyed power.
Yeah.
That's a great soundbite.
Yeah, I think that might be, you might be onto something there.
With their hair on fire.
Yeah, in terms of the irony that you can actually use bits of that in ads when everybody would tell you, oh my God, that's the worst thing that ever happened. Right?
Yeah, make TikToks.
What an ironic twist that is.
30-second. I know you hate TikTok, but make shorts.
Yeah.
Everything is now digested in these quick sound bites. Not that they weren't prior, but they certainly are
even more so now. Yeah.
And that is great for Biden's performance on the night.
Right.
To take on the night, it was painful to watch. Obviously, I mean, it was not. It didn't flow. Let's just say that. But you can clip up Biden and you can clip up Trump. They both gave sound bites that can aid in re-electing Biden because the sound bites are great. The actual 90 minutes was, but we live in a soundbite world. People want their stuff digested quick. That's why I say make TikToks, make shorts.
Yep.
The Biden bites will play real well. The guys who are so self-defeatist, that's got to stop.
Right.
It's got to stop. No, you can't let fear of Trump become a self-fulfilling prophecy. No, take it to him. You got to fight. You got to fight.
Agreed.
You got to be proactive.
Well, you certainly have to be less afraid, or also just put aside what you actually not be so willing to put aside what you actually saw Trump say and go, well, yeah, nobody cares about that because he always gets away with it. Well, maybe it's time he doesn't. Maybe, again, he brought back a zombie Eli that is it sticks in my craw almost as badly as how he treats women and has turned them into second-class citizens in this country. And I don't know how anybody would, decide that that's a wash. Is this zombie lie about the VA Choice Act of 2014? He used to say all the time that he passed the VA Choice Act. It passed in 2014. Obama signed it into law. He signed a modification of it that was set for an update in the original law itself. He did nothing to it. It was given to him by the Congress. They signed. They voted on it. It was practically unanimous, and all he did was sign it. And somebody he's been walking around. They tried to do this for 50 years. No, they didn't. Nobody was trying to update a bill that didn't exist for 50 years. They passed it in 2014. It's horrible, and he's lying to and about veterans, and he does it, and maggots don't care. And I'm going to hammer this, and I might be alone in this, but this is going to be one of my pushes continually. And I think the Biden campaign should bring this up, that he keeps trying to take credit for the VA Choice Act that passed during the Obama administration. They draw attention to that. That just, again, sticks his tires. It knifes his tires. All right, and I don't know if Johnny has do you have a gig coming up, Johnny?
Yeah, I've got a couple more here.
Okay. I was just talking about your happy ending.
Kelly. Oh, I'm sorry. Happy ending? No. I do have questions, so that'll be a happy ending for the people that sent them. Mm-hmm. Connie Kelly asks, there were some attacks on Russian Space Communications Center. Will this impact Ukraine advancement?
Ukraine advancement, not so much. It'll hamper their defensive capabilities because that's a major spot where they took in satellite imaging that they could use in their defense or their offense, and so taking that out kind of blinds them to a certain extent. But the other thing is, as has been pointed out, is that Ukraine has been conducting pretty much pinpoint accurate attacks. They wanted that space center taken out, they took it out. They wanted the S-300s and the S-500 systems taken out, they take them out. The only time that they have collateral damage is when Russia puts up air defense and they not like the beach in Sevastopol. I do not buy any kind of argument that Ukraine is targeting civilians. I don't buy it. It's not in their interest. The bang for buck compared to the risk is not worth it. Conversely, however, and we saw this I think it was within the last 24 hours. I don't know if it was yesterday late or today. It blurs. But the attack in Dnipro, where they took out the top of a civilian apartment building because the Russians are throwing stuff that is not precise at all. These glide bombs they drop them off a plane, they fly, they glide in, and they hit whatever they're going to hit. Russia is attacking Ukrainian civilians and civilian infrastructure. It is why I don't have lights right now. Okay, it's why I am sweating like a stuck pig because I can't run AC. All right, and it's hot. Russia doesn't care. Russia is attacking Ukraine as a whole, trying to destroy the people of Ukraine. Ukrainians are trying to conduct a war and to destabilize Russia's military defense and offensive capabilities. It is markedly different.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of the show. I want to make sure we have time to remind everybody that Johnny Million's got a live stream Tuesdays and Thursdays at twitch.tv/itsjohnny Million and on YouTube at It's Johnny Million. Of course, On the Edge is the new podcast by Philip Ittner where he has in-depth conversations about what's going on there. You will learn a lot and hopefully be moved to understand that this is a existential fight for democracy, as is our election this year. And I got to say, it's nice to be right all the time, even when it's awful. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe if you could. Help us drive up our numbers. We're trying to reach 1 million subscribers. We're nowhere near that, but that's what we're trying to reach. It seems to work for some people. Most people who watch aren't subscribed, I hear. So it also statistically has to be true. So hit that like at the very least. Do the free stuff if you want to support the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks. We'll see you next time.
I saw that, Phil, some people in the chat were suggesting that you wear a tank top, and I've got an idea for a Patreon. Of just Phil in a tank top.
He's wearing a tank
Wear
top.
a tank top.
But he gets dressed up for shows because he's a professional with a storied history in journalism.
No, it's because otherwise I sweat right through this shirt, so I got another layer to go through first. It's hot. It's really hot here. We're going through a hot one.
Whoops. Okay, there goes Chicago. Well, thank you guys a ton, and I will see you guys next week. Phil, I'll see you on Wednesday. I will be doing the show from Kentucky. So, yep.
Nice.
Yep. And then on Saturday next week,
July with the fam.
On Saturday next week, I will be in Jackpot, Nevada.
Okay, now you're just making shit up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right next to Butt Knuckle, Nevada. Yeah. I'll tell you how you get there. You fly to Twin Falls, Idaho, and then you drive 90 minutes into Nevada to get there. There is no other airport. Yeah.
Wow. Idaho is the airport?
Yeah.
Eep.
Yeah. Oof. But I will say this: Jackpot is the place that Vegas should have been built if they'd have done it right, because it's still in Nevada where all the laws would be what they are, but there's water, the air is cooler, there's trees and shit. It's crazy. We're performing 2 nights at the casino up there in Jackpot.
Fabulous.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, and then I'm 4th of Julying it in Kentucky with the fam. So
where the real fireworks happen, where they just turn their heads at the laws and they're like, "We're blowing shit up."
Yeah, total hold our beer, wild and wonderful whites of West Virginia.
That's right. We're just gonna fire Jeeps.
I got my bicycle.
Do they have those big warehouse stores that pop up for a few months?
Yeah, in Tennessee. So you got what you do. Hey, man.
You got to cross the border.
You drive down to Tennessee, and then you try to avoid the cops pulling you over with your obvious trunk full of M80s and bottle rockets and other incendiary devices. And then
you got to distract them by doing something else wrong so they don't search your car, just like cross the border extremely drunk.
I don't have time to think about that, Johnny. I'm trying to decide whether bottle rockets or Roman candles will give me more thrust on my BMX bike when I turn it into a rocket ride.
Murder.
And will the wooden ramp hold me, or will I just go right through it? I don't understand the physics, and I do not want to.
There's so many times I just broke the ramp. I really thought that this long, cool ramp was the way to go. No. That board was pretty old, wasn't it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's a Gen X problem.
Yeah. It totally is. Yeah. Because everybody now just goes to a water park.
We have those just massive warehouse buildings that are just filled with. Like,
Those are amazing. I could watch YouTube videos of those
they're
catching
insane.
fire all day long.
Absolutely. I mean,
nothing to see here. Please disperse.
Yeah.
Nothing to see
I would say
here.
arguably that, if America is sort of defined by don't blow your thumb off, dum-dum, for July 4th, Russia is defined by just the naked gun, nothing to see here, fireworks factory explosion behind them. That's I can only imagine
There's a video circulating right now in Sebastopol of some drunk naked man beating up people, just walking down the street, just beating the living crap out of people. It's like there's an old couple and he just starts beating the old man. The woman's got a dog. She tries to stop him. He beats the woman up. She lets the dog run away. She crawls out into the street. He's fighting people at the buck naked as the day was born. It's just.
See, I always thought that was a terrible way to fight, but sometimes it depends on how skeevy and civilized the people you're fighting are. If nobody cares, they're just going to yank your junk like the dinner bell, and that's that, right? If you don't care,
the dinner bell.
It's just ring, ding, ding, and they're done. You know what I mean? Just get
Clang,
a hold
clang,
of it
clang
and
with
don't
the
let go.
trolley.
Yeah. I don't care. What's the alternative? Getting your ass kicked by a naked man? Or going, officer, you might want to try to sew these back on after he's released from prison. I'm just saying, I don't fuck around. In a fight, every advantage. There is no, there are no rules in a situation, especially if you're being attacked by a naked man near family members, I might add.
Yeah, I can confirm that Hal will grab your wiener and then say, I thought we were fighting.
That's true. I will start small verbal tiffs. Johnny,
what are you doing, Hal? Aren't we fighting?
That's not your glass of iced tea. That's my glass of iced tea, Johnny Million. Don't reach across the table. Ring a ding a ding. But the funny part, and honestly, it's not a prurient reason. It's because when you do that to Johnny Million, his eyes and his tongue come out like a Warner Brothers character, like and he makes a big aruga sound. And if you don't believe me, give it a try.
Give it a try.
Next time you meet him, you'll go, damn it, Hal was right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, love you guys. I'll let you guys go. Don't waste all your battery on us, Phil. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Johnny.
Bye, all.
Bye. See you guys later. There they go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for joining me today. It's Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. We're on every Saturday, and it's live. I do believe that in 2/3 weeks, whatever the shit it is, for when I go to Boston, the travel will be so red-eye and so messed up that I will have to either pre-tape the show or do a best of. I prefer to pre-tape it, so hopefully I can get Johnny on either the Thursday before, and we'll start doing, we'll do some kind of recap-ish kind of stuff so that there's something original to listen to instead of just replaying that, because I'm going to be in the air an interminable amount of time, going to the, flying from Tahoe to Boston on a red-eye, because I have a Nerd Halen gig in Tahoe the night before, TMZ posted what? Posted who farted? Really? Did they steal my bit again? That's amazing. Again, all you got to do is keep it. And by the way, please share out that video, please. And if you don't, obviously, you'll have to deal with the kidney.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Yeah. I'm going to eventually, when the Wi-Fi thing is fixed, I will be able to get my my stupid lights to work again. Everything. Why is everything so difficult? And of course, Rob Glenn is on vacation right now, so I'm not going to bother him with this. Chuck. Sorry, I'm just going to squeeze myself down if I could. There we go. I'm a little better, a little bigger. There we go. That said, I will see you guys next week. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Don't forget to check out Boston Brian's live stream tomorrow. He's live on Sundays. And I got to tell you, so far, so good. Oh, let me hold on before I leave, though, if I may, chat room. Let me say goodbye to you guys proper. I got to say, so far, my optimism around the debate is unabated and has paid off. Suck on that, Pod Save America. and I gotta say, I'm just kind of nailing it again. Never underestimate Donald Trump's ability to fuck up a free lunch. 1/1640, baby. I'm making a T-shirt with that on it today. And that's all I'm putting on there. It's just going to be, that's all it's going to say. And if people ask you what it says, you can share it with them. Yeah. Hal, sing the share song. I don't have to, but I don't have time. But it is available online. Our dear friend Ginger Voigt, Voight. Let's see if I can find the link right before I go. Let's go to YouTube and go to, let's see, put this in here, go to this one, hold on one second, pausing, going to here, going to this, there we go to videos, and then, yeah, here you go. Share. I'm going to share my share song. Here you go. I'm putting it in the chat room. Here it comes. Da-da-da-da. That's the link right there. That's the that's me singing Believe. Let's see. And then also this is, here's We Are the Champions. Paste that in there as well. I can get back there. I can type. Oh, champions. I'm sorry. Typo. Sorry. Champions. But there you go. And yeah, and Breaking the Law, I think, turned out really well. Yeah. Here's, let's see. Share. There you go. Copy. Now, I'll type slower. Hold on. There you go. I'm pretty proud of those. They turned out really well. There's a bunch of songs on Ginger's site. She films from the front row, so you can see me in some really tight red pants singing "Bang Your Head" if you want, and "Shake Me" and "Wild Side." Yeah. So enjoy. F2. How many links so far? I put 3 up. The first one. Here we go. I'll do the share one again too, because that was copy. There we go. That one was Settlement Sledgehammer. That's on her page too, if you want to check it out. There we go. You guys see that one in there? Boston's going to be fun. Oh, it totally is. And you'll be happy to know that my return flight, Boston Brian, is I couldn't get an early flight because everything was sold out because of my crazy schedule, and I'm not doing a round trip and whatever, threading it through. So I do have time for breakfast the next day if you'll join me. I don't know if that interests you, Boston Brian, but would you mind maybe perhaps having brunch? Yeah. Oh, thanks. I thought my hair looked pretty good as well. But there you go. So it's a breakfast. So any Iron Maiden? I don't know that Ginger was filming when I did I did Wasted Years a long time ago. But yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, here's the other one, of course, which is that I really liked. This was just for me. It's me singing "Fall to Pieces" by Velvet Revolver. Boink. Excellent. There you go. Yes, I do. I have to pay. That's exactly right. No Patsy Cline, not yet. I'll do that in Nashville, I guess, in a Winnebago parked outside an AT&T store, with the music overpowers your singing. Sometimes. It's just where she's seated. It's just or where she's standing. She's really close, so sometimes the keyboard's very high. But there you go. I will do what I can to like do a remix at one point. I'm gonna rip these and fix them. Also, I think Chuck and them film them in the back, but I've been waiting for that footage forever. So I usually refer people to Ginger stuff because I actually get them. She's very good about putting them out. So much love. I'll let you guys go. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. I will see you guys on Monday. Regular shows on Monday morning and afternoon. Tuesday is a travel day, but I should be arriving in Kentucky in time to do my afternoon show at the regular time. We should be all right because it's, I think they're on East Coast time, which is 6 o'clock. So 3 o'clock Pacific for me. And so I think we arrive at 3 p.m. Their time. So we should be all right. Yes. And rest in peace, Martin Mull, the Cleveland Machine, just a funny man and well liked by everyone who liked him and hated by those he annoyed. And I think as a comedian, that's what you need desperately to try and achieve over the course of your life. I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far. I seem to be annoying all the right people. So in the spirit of Martin Mull, I think that's a value add, right? Yes, rip Colonel Mustard. We all must watch Clue in celebration about Martin Mull. Yeah. Of his life. Why would you sing a song about smoking marijuana, breaking the law? M. Stevenson, that song is about being gay. One of the reasons why we did a Judas Priest song for the Pride thing is because Rob Halford is gay. That's about finding dudes to have sex with on tour. Just telling you. Yeah. And in defense of all my metal fans, who are a part of the big metal fam, we all didn't give a shit. While everybody else was all the douchebag bro pricks were getting all getting their panties in a bunch about gay people and being pricks about it. Metal fans were like, I don't care. I love Freddie Mercury. I love Rob Halford. Go fuck yourself. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Andrea. So, yeah. And one of my dearest friends in the world, yeah, Grindr is about gay sex too. Yeah, that should be the giveaway. Before Grindr existed as an app, there was a Judas Priest song called Grindr. Just letting you know. Fight's a great band. You know who the guitar player was in Fight? The guitar player from Steel Panther. Well, what was the cute happy song? That's from Garfunkel and Oates. Kate Micucci is singing that. Water Goddess says, "Dude, I'm so naive." Really? Oh, we were talking about doing Turbo Lover, but it was but we decided on Breaking the Law because it was more people would know it. I would totally do Turbo Lover. I love that fucking song. I love that album. Hal Sparks is Evil Fantasies is about gay sex too. What? Why would what? First of all, if I don't have fantasies about gay sex, but if I did, they wouldn't be evil. Unless I had that fetish, I suppose, right? Yeah, Garfunkel and Oates. That's the name of the comedy duo that does the happy song. Kate did it live in studio for us when they were promoting. And yeah, Turbo's a great record, and Judas Priest fans hate it. It's just weird. It's kind of like where Somewhere in Time, the Iron Maiden record. It's my favorite Iron Maiden record, and like hardcore Iron Maiden guys, that's their least favorite record. They treat it like The Elder for Kiss fans, and I love The Elder too, so I don't give a shit. Yeah, I will stand by the fact that if metal guys and metal fans were homophobic, we wouldn't have a history of androgynous long-haired males slinking around the stage. And everybody who thinks that, Hal, please sing a Dio song? Absolutely. I think we did, I think I did Rainbow in the Dark years ago before I was hosting. I'll add that. I'll see if we can find one. Run to the Hills is amazing. Yeah. What about Hall and Simon? That's their nemesis. Right. Queen was gay. Well, Queen's not gay. Freddie Mercury was gay. The rest of the band was straight. And again, whether they noticed or not didn't matter. You could kind of tell, especially, Jesus Christ, the early 80s. Freddie's mustache, haircut, outfit. You're like, oh, come on. Of course we know. Same thing with Judas Priest. Good Lord. Everybody in the leather bars in Police Academy. Remember the joke about them ending up in the leather bar? Everybody in there is dressed like Rob Halford. Who cares? Yes, and Freddie was bi. He would be polyamorous in many ways too. He would be because he or pansexual or whatever, because he fell in love with a woman and he had sex with men often and that kind of stuff. And nobody could pin him down in the biography, and they always thought it was a betrayal. They were being weird. Anyways, doesn't matter. Freddie was just fucking amazing. Doesn't matter. That's what was great about him. Apparently, it's still a surprise to Trump fans that the Village People are gay and that the YMCA is a song about meeting men for sex in a men's-only facility. Yeah, it's the Blue Oyster. That's exactly right. So I just love the fact that, like, apparently the young'uns think my generation has a trapped and limited idea of what gender is. And I'm like, fuck you. You're the ones who has to, like, label everything or it doesn't exist. You guys just want to brand gender. That's not the same thing as being open about it. Listen to all the different derivations. I'm a this and co-this and part of this and a slice of this, and these are put together, and I'm this, and this put together. Like, I don't give a fuck. The whole point was to not care that you didn't care about somebody's sexuality, but that it didn't override your personality, your worth as a human being. Right? Now it does, because it's a branding exercise. That's why I have to say, like, the LGBTQIA plus flag that they keep putting up, which has like brown and black added to it, as reflective of, I guess, the indigenous community and brown people and black people, is kind of ridiculous, because the rainbow, the point is that gay people are everywhere and they are a part of the entire spectrum of color. It's not about shades of skin. Nobody is that color of blue. Simmer down. It's a symbolic flag. It's not about checking a box on it. You know what I mean? Your next hero might be trans. Yeah, maybe so. And if they're heroic, I don't care. I mean, we had so many androgynous ones, they just didn't have to wear a label. Yeah? So many people I know profess to be homophobic but are secretly gay. Well, that's a kind of a running mythology that everybody who's anti-gay is secretly gay, and that would make it the entire aspect of homophobia or anti-gay violence in the country some sort of, gay on gay crime, and I don't think that's the case. I think some people are just bigoted, stupid, and a lot of Republicans specifically have an issue with being easily grossed out. They're very they're easily disgusted. They have a high propensity to be grossed out by bodily fluids and that kind of stuff. That's why Christians love shit jokes, because it makes them uncomfortable, and the rest of us are like, fart jokes are funnier because it's a silly noise, but nobody cares about turds. the way they do. It's weird, but it's because they just like they ick out in a way that a lot of people can't relate to. Republicans are very easily disgusted, and that's where some of their stuff comes from. It's very, it's odd. They're bad at sex, so they hate porn. Yeah, right. That would be an equivalent, I suppose. Is what I mean. I understand. Nerd Haley needs to play Sparks. I agree. I need to be the mayor of Sparks, Nevada, and I need an apartment on Sparks Street in Burbank. I get it. I'm working on it. Eventually, of course, I need to raise my profile so that I'm making the kind of money that these right wingers are making on their websites, and then I could buy a small town and be the owner / mayor and use it as a laboratory for like truly forward-thinking policies. I need to be Biden's press secretary. I kind of am. They come around. It takes them a while sometimes. They go back to the institutionalists and they'll check in with those folks. But again, a bunch of stuff from my stream has made it to the White House. That's all I'm saying. And the right people have mentioned this to me on our trips with the Sexy Liberals comedy tour across across the country. I'm an unofficial advisor, I would say, in that regard. Was J. Edgar Hoover gay too? I don't know. He was a cross-dresser. That doesn't necessarily mean he was gay. There are straight men who are cross-dressers. I guess that's the difference between cross-dressers and drag queens back in the day, right? That was how you used to define them. Right? Is that, a drag queen is a gay man who dresses as a woman. A cross-dresser is a straight man who dresses as a woman. That would be transvestite. I am, of course, a closet glamvestite, which you obviously see on the Ultimate Jam Night. If I didn't feel weird going to the grocery store with like big twisted sister hair and makeup on or whatever, I do it, but I just feel like it's distracting. Yeah. But again, Doug Pinnick from King's X is one of my dearest friends in the whole world. And when he came out, it was a struggle for him and the band. And apparently, the existence of Queer as Folk helped with that to some degree. And I was incredibly proud to know him, and I still am. And I can't tell you how much I love that man, and I'm so glad to see him. Every time I see his face, it's like home. He's such a sweet human being and an incredibly talented human being and a gem. And I would like to say also that Ty and Jerry, the other members of his band, Ty Tabor, who's an incredible guitar player, transformational, responsible for inspiring more guitar players in the grunge era and beyond than anybody will cop to, including, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and all these guys. Anybody who dropped detuned, they did it because they were like, oh my God, Ty Tabor is a genius. And Jerry Gaskell's drumming is the most animated, beautiful, and well-timed and soulful drumming you can see in a rock band anywhere ever. His 4 on the floor has 2 on the ceiling, and it's watch him play sometime. Just watch a King's X music video or a live performance and watch Jerry Gaskell, the drummer, play. And you'll fall in love with him as a drummer, even if that's not the kind of music you love. And let me tell you something. That they were largely viewed as a Christian band when they first came out because of some of the themes in their music. And Ty is a Christian, as was Jerry at the time. I don't know kind of where he is on the map, spiritually at this time. But both of them stood by Doug when that happened. There was no, we got to break up because he came out of the closet and it's an affront to our religious beliefs. None of that. There wasn't even a thought of it. There wasn't even a thought that there should have to be a thought of it. That's why I love King's X. That's why I love not just the band and the music. but because of the men in that band who are good, genuine, soulful human beings. And that shows up in their music. Yeah. You would argue, like, Ty Tabor is right up there with Jimmy Carter in True Christians. Finding the love and the light in that path as opposed to the fire and brimstone. And the fact that three of them can sound like five people is, you know, they could float on talent enough. But I can't tell you how. You want to talk about something that'll bring a tear to my eye in Pride Month? It's how proud I am to be a fan of Doug's when I was in high school and a friend of Doug's now. And to know that his band stood by him when he came out, when they knew and they experienced it. They saw a huge, just like Shelley Wright went through being a country artist who came out as a lesbian, they saw a huge drop-off in their fan base. It cost them their career. And they did it anyways. And they never lost any love for him in that. That's something in Pride Month to be proud of. That's what pride is. And again, the biggest thing about that moment that is that they never had to even, it was never even an option to kick him out of the band or distance themselves. It wasn't even a thought that there should be a thought in the first place. That's what pride is about. And that's what I think the right wing misses about pride. Is that A, they try to shame everybody. And the rebuttal to that can often be pride. I'm proud of who I am as a human being, and my sexuality is an important part of that. Just like, by the way, let me say for all those like those straight pride folks, that I try to be a man in a way that my heterosexuality is informed by my character and my genuine desire and being as a person. Successes in relationships and failures in relationships. Or things you wouldn't even call a relationship that happened along the way that have more impact on you sometimes than the long-term relationships you were in. Right? That's, you know, I try to infuse how I live my life with my character. Nobody's perfect about it, and everybody fails and all that kind of stuff. And I don't even feel like you have to make that caveat, but everybody seems to, right? But that's, you know, I do the same thing. And gay people, when they feel pride, the only reason they have to react with being proud about it is because people tried forever to make them feel ashamed about it. And that's only after they stop killing them for it. Or in the case of like Alan Turing, people like him, chemically castrating them. That's what it's in a response to. But what they're proud of is the courage they had to stand up and the people that they were proud of that stood up for them when society used to be even more against it. And believe me, the Trump crowd are trying to bring all that back. And I absolutely agree with Elton John. No fucking way. So that's just a little pride message. You try to get it in under the wire on the month, right? And 3 of the artists I sang on Tuesday are gay, and one of them is a gay icon that I made jokes about. My character made jokes about in Queer as Folk. And it was, I insisted, just so you know, on doing the Cher song for Pride because of references to what Michael said in Queer as Folk. Be proud of yourself when you have the courage to stand up for people that are in a bad way or haven't gotten where they're gotten, where they're gonna go. I hope, because I believe the arc of history bends towards liberty, freedom, and goodness. That's just my own personal feeling. But that's what pride is about, to me, anyways. It's not up to me to define it, but that's how I read it. Let's say. And as a straight white male, I gotta tell you, it ain't hard to be nice. It's not. It's no skin off my back. It's very much, again, optimism and respect are a natural state. And nobody forgives you if nobody won't forgive you if somebody crosses a line and you're like, well, accept that person. That's how it works. But the generalized belief in the goodness and the worth of another human being doesn't take any work at all. It really doesn't. And somebody in the chat just said it should be reciprocated. I don't care if it is. Because my character isn't about the response of the person. My character is about how I want to be. What the person I want to be in the world. I don't, honestly, I don't show respect and love for the LGBTQ community because I want them to notice or like it or gain their respect. I don't need it. I don't have gaps in my soul that are filled by attention as much as some other comedians maybe that people feel that way. That's not how I live. This is a job. It happens to be something I'm good at, but I don't do it because I need, please make me have worth in the world. I don't do it for that reason. I do it because it's the kind of person I want to be in the world. I want to be worthwhile, and I want to be a person of high honor in my own estimation of what that means. This is who I choose to be. I don't need somebody to reciprocate because that I can't control that. Why would I ever hang the character that I want to have in this life on someone else to define? Which is why I think for example, and I'll end on this thought, and I'm sure there's controversy around this idea, but there's too much attachment to the pronoun fight. Because a pronoun is an exonym. It's a word somebody else gives you, but it doesn't define you. There are descriptions and there's definitions. And no description of you can define you without your permission. And you never have to give permission to someone else's slurs or dismissal of who you are, ever. And if you insist that they speak of you in a certain way, for you to feel good, you are giving your power away. If you say, I go by these pronouns, and they don't live up to it, that doesn't change who you are. It just shows you who they are. That's the crucial point. Pronouns are none of my business. As a long-haired male, I hear miss all the time from behind over my shoulder or something like that, right? I hear it constantly. Does it change who I am? Does it change my identity or my sense of self? No, it does not. Nor should it. And in my eyes, it wouldn't change something about you if somebody misgendered you. Don't give your power away. Never. And never let anybody tell you your power belongs to another person. Never let anybody tell you that if they don't call you by the right pronoun, they don't see you as human. It doesn't matter how they see you. You are a human. You own your worth. It is never anyone's responsibility to build it for you. And it is also never anybody's ability to take it away. You can only give it away in that situation. And if anybody ever told you that you have to, you should, or you can't help it, they're full of shit. Other than that, I have no opinion. You guys are wonderful. See you later.